theoretical modeling approach, the model that works only on paper, not on the real life, on the real life data. Here, I would like to give some glimpse of how we can develop a system with the help of a non-conventional mathematical tools. And that tool will provide us the basic background, or it will provide us sufficient information to diagnose the patient. I have quoted one word, non-conventional method. The first one, we will use this one. Most of them are using mathematics. I refer them as a conventional mathematical tool, and I am going to referring to non-conventional mathematical tool that I refer you to use. As it is a concern with the faculty group, and I would like to share with my fellow colleagues, investors, those who have some views, ideas, or visualizations, that the course content, whatever they have read in their MSc program, except the fully dynamics, except the operation research, except the astronomical part, except some other theoretical like the statistical tools and when I tell you designing the tools, and then the issues concerned with real life matters. Here, I would like to handle the medical issues. You know, the medical phenomena is entirely opposite the approach of conventional methods. The conventional mathematical tools, the first term that is coined under the name of George Cantor that I shared once I studied at the MIT Institute. But the George Cantor quote that everything must be well defined distinct. Medical science, nothing is well defined. So that's why some issues concerned with the non-conventional approaches, and it started way back the 16th or 17th century. The concept of the extends to zero. It is not zero, it is approaching zero. What does it mean? If I quote it, it is an emergence of the vague idea of zero. It is an ambiguity regarding zero that creates confusion. Whether it is zero, or given by zero, what extent it is. If I quote it, it is the beginning of the ambiguity. It is the beginning of the vague information about the this ambiguity somewhere noticed later in 1928, Ludwig Fleck, one of the famous physicians, referred it that medical practitioners not at all using their routine scientific methodology to diagnose the patient. And whatever they adopt is not concerned. If you talk to a medical person who are pursuing their MS program or MBBS program, ask about their experience regarding biostatistics. Biostatistics is one of the core components that usually taught to these MBBS students or MS students or medical science students. But do you know? They just clear this book. They don't have any interest. They usually quote.
Sorry to disturb you, Pankaj. Sir, we are actually not receiving your voice properly. So I request you to please, first of all, remove your earphone. Maybe possible that improves your voice. And secondly, if it does not works, then maybe possible कि आप हमारे साथ जो है file share कर लें. Then we can play your slides on our hand, and you can just sync your voice from your computer.
Well, I don't share with anyone. This is my individual approach.
Okay, sir. Okay, fine. Very fine, sir. सर एक दफा ईयरफोन को रिमूव करके देख लीजिए सर, वॉइस क्लियरिटी बनता है तो, बिकॉज वी आर नॉट गेटिंग एनीथिंग फ्रॉम योर साइड. योर वॉइस क्वालिटी इज वेरी लो सर. Most of the audience saying that they are not able to hear you, sir.
Okay, here I am roaring, but I don't know what is the problem actually. But I cannot roar like anything. Okay.
Same here, sir. We are not also diagnosed what is the reason behind this, sir.
Hello.
Far better than.
आप पंकज सर, आप चाहें तो पीपीटी आप शेयर कर दें और मोबाइल से कनेक्ट कर लीजिए सर, उससे वॉइस क्लियर आएगी सर.
हेलो.
हाँ सर.
हाँ, क्या आवाज कुछ आ रही है कि बिल्कुल ही खत्म हो गई आवाज? जी
सर आवाज नहीं आ रही आपकी.
बाकी सर साइमल्टेनियसली आप सर को मोबाइल से जोइन करा के ऑडियो मोबाइल से कनेक्ट कर सकते हो. पीपीटी कंप्यूटर लैपटॉप से सकती है
क्या ऐसा?
हाँ हाँ हाँ.
चलिए, पीपीटी लैपटॉप से चलती रहेगी.
सर आप मोबाइल से भी जुड़ जाइए. आप मोबाइल से आपका ऑडियो आता रहेगा और इस पर पीपीटी चलती रहेगी.
और ये पीपीटी में हाँ हाँ. अच्छा. आप ऐसा करो ना, आप दूसरा सेशन करा लो ना, करा ही लो.
नितिन जी.
जी पुरोहित सर. पुरोहित सर, मैं आपको सुन पा रहा हूं.
हेलो।
हाँ सर, प्लीज सर। यस।
मैं कह रहा हूँ कि पंकज सर के साथ कुछ टेक्निकल इश्यूज हैं, तो हम सुथार सर के साथ स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं मैडम,
जी सर।
है ना? सुथार सर को भी फोन कर दीजिए, वो शायद अगर जुड़े हैं तो उनको कंटिन्यू कर लीजिए।
जी जी सर।
सुथार सर हैं
Yes,
आप
sir.
यहीं पे?
Yes, sir.
हाँ ठीक है, ठीक है सर, ठीक है सर।
Right. Thank you so much, Om Sathar, sir. So we are facing a little technical difficulty with the Professor Pankaj, and these are the sides of,
Yeah, that's
the
happened.
online and virtual learning. Right, right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, I think we should not be letting our audiences wait more, and there are, two more sessions, of course, to follow. So we can accordingly switch these weekends. Would not be making much of a difference, and it's right. So, I should take this first in hand to present you formally on this virtual platform for session second. Professor Om Suthar is an assistant professor at Department of Mathematics, MNIT, Jaipur. He has he has done his PhD from Jain Narayan Vyas University, Jodhpur, in the year of 2010. He has also worked with NIT, Jalandhar, and VIT Vellore. He's done an MSc from Jain Narayan Vyas University, Jodhpur, in 2004. He was awarded by Junior Research Fellowship from CSIR through National Eligibility Test in June 2006. UGC Dr. D.S. Kothari Postdoctoral Fellowship that he availed at Bangalore University. He has also been awarded as the Best Paper Presentation at 56th Congress of ISTAM 2011. Total 9 years of experience in the field of teaching and research. He's a young and dynamic professor. His areas of interest are linear and non-linear stability analysis of thermal convective flows. He's published 11 international journals in Journal of Engineering Mathematics, International Journal of Nonlinear Mechanics, ASME Journal of Heat Transfer and Transport in Porous Media. May we please formally welcome Dr. Om Suthar, and may request him to take the session forward ahead. Welcome. Professor Suthar, great, thank you.
Yeah, I hope the voice is audible.
Very much audible.
Okay.
Right, the slides are as well visible.
Okay. So, first of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me to present my work in this. So, I will be giving a talk on chaos in atmospheric convection, and in particular, we'll talk about Lorentz model. It's a celebrated dynamical system. The first, you can say, study, or the most elementary study which was made in atmospheric convection was by Edward Lorenz of MIT. So we start the presentation. This guy is Edward Lorenz. Obviously not at the time he did this research, but lately. This photo is of 2012. And what he worked as is famously known as the butterfly effect. And most of us would have heard about this butterfly effect. And Lorenz actually explained the butterfly effect in a very fancy statement, which says that the flap of a butterfly's wing in Brazil can set off a cascade of atmospheric events that weeks later spurs the formation of a tornado in Texas. So it says that how strong is flap of a butterfly's wing if we consider nonlinear terms in models which we are using to represent atmospheric convection. And this statement is what we will be talking about. And I will try to explain this, what the butterfly effect is. The butterfly effect is used in a lot of movies and is used by a lot of motivational speakers and so on. That what all it says is that even a small effort like a flap of butterfly's wing, can really bring a huge change. This is like a tornado is something which is extremely huge from what you can say natural convection aspect. Okay, so Lawrence, when he was working about predicting the weather, he was a meteorologist. So he was talking about prediction of weather. So he thought that the convection of air can be actually used as a model. That what happens in this scenario is that when sunlight hits the ground of the earth, then ground of the earth actually gets heated up. So once it is hot, what will happen is that the air which comes in contact of the ground will obviously heat up, and when the fluids, when they heat up, actually their density decreases. So air's density will decrease. So here the air particles which are here near the ground are going to be having less density. In other words, the mass of these particles is going to be lesser than the mass of the particles which are away from the ground. And then what will happen is obviously this is what we call the phenomena of convection due to buoyancy forces. Is that when you have higher stuff, that the stuff with higher mass is above the stuff with the lower mass, what will happen is overturning will happen. So what will happen is that the cool air will try to come down and the hot air will try to go up. And this is the phenomena of convection. So we know that convection is a familiar word. Convection is a way by which heat transfers. Heat transfer, there are three ways. I'll just quickly tell you. One is conduction, one is convection, and third one is radiation. Examples like conduction is without any movement of the object when heat is transferring, then we say it is conduction. Simple thing is like a plate. When you are heating the plate, then throughout the plate the temperature will increase. That is through conduction. Convection is something like boiling of water. Like when we boil water or milk at home, what do is that we heat it from below, and then after some time boiling starts. So this is the phenomena of boiling, as you can see, that when we are heating sufficiently at the bottom and the top particles are having higher density, obviously they will fall down because gravity always works on everyone without any bias. So here also gravity will play its role and convection will start. And Lawrence said that, okay, let us model this off. And because, airflow is a very, very important property of weather, because a lot of weather changes happen only because of airflow. So as I said, the model which we are going to consider is a very, very simple model of atmospheric convection. And you will see that even that model contains extraordinary features. Okay, so this explanation, I hope it's pretty clear. This is what is going to happen, that this is how even air flows in nature. So to have this kind of model, Lawrence picked this problem, which was actually first dealt in 1905, and Lawrence worked in 1963. So obviously it is a very 100 years old problem, Rayleigh-Bénard convection, in which the idea is pretty much same. It says that we have to talk about convection and infinitely extended horizontal plates. Here, when we are talking about Earth, let us say, and we want to talk about atmospheric convection, infinitely extended just means that horizontal expansion of the model is extremely large compared to vertical height. That is just the meaning of infinite extension. And when we heat up the lower plate, just like we do for boiling water or boiling milk, we don't cool the upper one as written here. We just leave it on the room temperature, okay, the upper layer. So this phenomenon is like lower plate is heated up and upper plate is cooled down. In that case, as I said, buoyancy effects will dominate after a certain temperature difference. And so what buoyancy effects will dominate is the viscous force. We know that fluids will have this property of viscosity. And what is viscosity? It is just the resistance of the fluid from moving. That means if fluid is in a state which is, let us say, static state, the fluid is not going to move because of the viscous forces. And like water has less viscosity, oil and other things, they have more viscosity. So these buoyancy effects have to dominate viscous effects actually. That means it has to force in such a way that it dominates the viscous forces, and then overturning of the fluid will happen. So here pictorial representation of what we are looking for in Rayleigh-Bénard convection and what even Lorentz thought of atmospheric convection is this. That take a lower plate and heat it up, take an upper plate which is cooled down, and in between what you have is the fluid. So again, you can see the cells over there, and these cells are pretty logical. You can see that if the particle near the lower plate are going to be less dense and particle above here are more dense, obviously the upper particle will try to come down. So I'm going to the wrong circle, I'll go here. So upper particles will try to come down and lower particles will try to go up, and you will have a circular pattern over there. So what about the other sides? So immediately next to this, the cell will be there. It will not be clockwise. Here I have taken a clockwise pattern. So here, obviously, the pattern will be anti-clockwise. Why is it so? Is that obviously, like humans, fluid will also take the path of least resistance. So you just imagine that people are walking like this, and you have to come to this side only. So it will be better to walk like this. If you walk like this, then you will be resisting these people who are coming down. Similarly, if the fluid is moving like this, so the next adjacent fluid should also move like this only. So that means one cell which we will get will be clockwise, and the nearby cell has to be anti-clockwise in both the sides. You can see this is also anti-clockwise and this is also anti-clockwise. Okay, and since the plate we have considered is infinitely extended, so we will have infinitely many such cells over there. But one set of cells is what we will call as one cell. One set means one clockwise and one anti-clockwise. And remaining cell, we will assume the symmetry and we'll say that these two cells are actually repeated throughout in an infinitely extended plane. Here you can see that a lot of cells are drawn. And this figure is also included with the idea, which I will be again stressing on later. The idea here is that in this direction, you can see these are like cylinders now. Okay. And along the axis of the cylinder, you can see everything is symmetric. That means this is what direction we will assume as Y direction. This direction along the cylinders, this side is X direction, and vertical direction is Z direction. So what we will say is in Y direction, everything is symmetric. So this will help us to reduce the problem from 3-dimension to 2-dimension. So these sort of assumptions we use in mathematics to reduce the model to a tractable model. That means we have to solve a slightly easier equations. But these actually are very well justified. We all have done in a lot of models. Okay, so the governing equations which are used for Rayleigh-Bénard convections are these. The first equation which we have to use is the equation of state, which just says that you should have a relation between density and temperature. So this relation actually is suggested by Boussinesq, and he said that you can take fluid density constant, but you cannot take it constant when it is multiplied to gravity, because buoyancy force is all about gravity. So if you are saying that density is not changing, then there is no buoyancy force which will work. Because if you say that density does not change with temperature, then obviously there is no buoyancy. So he said that except in buoyancy force term, you remove everywhere you can assume the density to be constant. So this is what we call as Boussinesq approximation. So we have taken a linear dependence of density on temperature. Well, if you want to change this, you can take some advanced Boussinesq approximations in which you can say that density depends exponentially on temperature, or quadratically on temperature, and so on. That can be done. So equation of conservation of mass, nothing but continuity equation, divergence of V equals to 0. Conservation of momentum, the very famous celebrated equation, Navier-Stokes equation, is the conservation of momentum equation. So you can see it is nothing but Newton's second law of motion. Rho 0 is nothing but mass over volume times, this is acceleration term. As you can see, we are writing dou V by dou T, which is nothing but acceleration, local acceleration. And V dot del V is nothing but convective acceleration. And right hand side is nothing but all the forces which are working on the fluid particles. So what forces are working is one mu represents viscosity. So this is viscous force. This is pressure, which includes hydrostatic pressure. And this is actually gravitational force. You can see that minus G of Ez is nothing but gravity. Your gravity works downwards, vertically downwards actually. So minus sign with the Z component K cap. The last equation which we have to take is the equation of energy, which is the temperature equation. So mostly we use it as heat conduction equation. Here it is with convection term, V dot del. This is the convection term. Otherwise, it is our standard equation, which I think even BTech students solve it. Dou T by dou T equals to kappa times del square T. That is conduction equation. To make it convection equation, to incorporate the effect of convection, we have to include this non-linear term. Remember that V and T are unknowns, and here we have to V and T multiplied, so this is a non-linear term. With this, the boundary conditions which are used are this, that velocity should be zero at the boundaries. This is with the idea that when you have a boundary, obviously there should be no slip of the fluid, and fluid should be at rest at the boundary. So you can see that when you have water on a surface, we obviously assume that water is never moving, which is in the touch of, which is in touch with the boundary. So these are the velocity at velocities are zero at the two boundaries. Z equals to 0 is the lower boundary. Z equals to D is the upper boundary. That means we are heating at Z equals to 0 and we are cooling at Z equals to T. So respective temperature, you can see T naught is at Z equals to 0 and T1 is at Z equals to T. Well, obviously, since heating from below case is there, T naught should be larger than T1. These are the notations which are used here. Now, what we will be attempting now as a mathematical model is that you can see that we have partial differential equations here. This is a partial differential equation in terms of T and other variables. Similarly, Navier-Stokes equation is a partial differential equation. This is also a partial differential equation. So what will be our idea in the next few slides, which I might go slightly fast. The entire idea is that we have to reduce these partial differential equations into ordinary differential equations, which we can solve easily. That's the idea. So whatever methodology we will follow now, we will make use of a lot of mathematical concepts and even some methods from applied mathematics, such that we can reduce this partial differential equations into an ordinary differential equation or a system of ordinary differential equations. So conductive solution says that we have three quantities which we have to find when there is no convection. So the stages of conduction, it is the time when you are heating the water, but there is no overturning of water. That means water is still in the steady position and you are trying to heat it up. So it will be heated up, but there will be no convection. So this is the stage of that. And in that, we assume that the water is not moving at all. That means velocity is zero. Water or fluid, I am using water so that you can connect to this easily. In the case of atmospheric convection, it is air which is getting heated up, and I'm saying that air velocity is zero in conduction state. That means there is no atmospheric convection and air is dead still. That means it is not moving at all. Okay. Temperature is given by this. This can just be solved easily. Density is given by this relation, and hydrostatic pressure also can be obtained easily. So basic state, all the solutions are pretty simple. So what we go for is now next the analysis, that how do we study that whether convection will be there or not. So for this, there is one thing which we use, and this is called perturbation analysis. So what do we do here? Perturbation analysis or stability analysis, these two words are used. So what do we do is we take the basic state and we disturb the basic state by a small margin. So let us say here I have written TB plus T dash. It means that there is basic state temperature, obviously, which is there in the entire layer. And then I am disturbing the temperature by some margin, maybe by increasing the heating from below, or maybe velocity I am disturbing by a margin. That means I am trying to move that fluid by some other way, or I am changing the pressure of the system. So these three are the quantities which we can change. And what's the idea? The idea is that if you want to check whether the system is stable, whether the convection will take place or not, the idea here is that when we disturb this, if everything starts moving, that means you know that VP is already zero. If very small velocity change will increase the velocity now of the air, then we say that the convection has taken place because system was like unstable at that time. But to understand this, you can just compare it with human psychology. In humans also, we say that this person is stable, this person is unstable. So how do you check a person is stable or not? Give him some perturbation. Perturbation does not mean that you have to slap him and see how he reacts, because obviously almost everyone will react in the same way when you slap them. But it means that you just tell them something which might disturb them slightly. And if they become completely unstable, that means they start hitting you or something like that, even just by saying some words, then you can say that yes, this person is unstable. So this is what is the idea of giving perturbations over there. Just to disturb the system slightly and observe what happens with the system. So give these disturbances and try to see what happens. So what all we have to do is to substitute this in the governing equations. So what will happen is since basic state things are known, equations in terms of these perturbed quantities. So you can see that V dash is perturbation, P dash is perturbation, and T dash is perturbation. So all the equations we have got now are in terms of perturbed quantities. Okay, and even the conditions we can write for perturbed quantities. So we assume that obviously at boundaries the velocity as well as temperature are zero. Being the temperature zero at the boundary means that the boundary is isothermal. Isothermal means everywhere the temperature is same at the boundary, and these small disturbances are not causing any change in that boundary temperature, which was earlier TB, that means basic state temperature. So these are the boundary conditions under which we have to solve these equations. Okay. Now there is a procedure in fluid dynamics, or not only fluid dynamics, I think all mechanics or chemical engineering, they all do this. This is called non-dimensionalization. The idea is that when you're writing a mathematical model, it should be valid not only for an experiment which is done inside a lab, but it should be valid outside in the nature. And since what you do inside the lab is in terms of meters only, what we have in real world is in terms of kilometers. So how do you say that something which is valid for a length of meter is also valid for length of hundreds of kilometers? Well, what you have to do is non-dimensionalization. Non-dimensionalization says that whatever dimension model you take now, these equations which we have written are always going to be valid. So this procedure is called non-dimensionalization. It makes your model extremely standard and everywhere applicable in all scenarios. So here what we do is some scaling is taken, pretty simple scaling we have taken, and we reduce this equation into a non-dimensional governing equations. Okay, so these two are the same equation. One is Navier-Stokes equation and one is our temperature equation or energy equation. There is no change as such. We have just changed by some margin. Prandtl number is fluid's property. You can see it is viscosity divided by thermal diffusivity. So obviously, if you know the fluid, which fluid we are using, Prandtl number is fixed for the fluid. For example, for water, it is around 7. For air, it is around 1 or something. So Prandtl number is one quantity, and Rayleigh number is another quantity which we use. And this actually number is very important for us in this analysis. Is you can see that it actually tells the difference between the top layer temperature of bottom layer and top layer. So it's telling about the temperature difference, and you know that in convection, it is all about temperature difference. How much you are heating from below, and how much you are cooling from above. So this is very important. So RA is all about temperature difference, we can say. And as you can see, it is the ratio between thermal force and viscous force. The numerator is thermal force and denominator is viscous force. As you can see, mu is here. So when RA is going to be larger than something, that means temperature difference is going to be larger than some particular quantity. Then this thermal force in the numerator will take over viscous force in the denominator, and then we will immediately have convection over there. Okay. Boundary conditions, as we discussed, that velocity is 0 at the boundaries. Other than that, we need some additional conditions now because the equations are of higher order. So to incorporate that, you can see that we consider perfectly conducting impermeable plates, first of all. If we consider that, in that case, you can see there are rigid boundaries as well as free boundaries. So impermeable just means that there will be no flow across the boundary, and B should be 0 or W should be 0 in that case. When we are saying rigid boundary, there should be no flux actually. No flux means dou W by dou Z should be 0, and Z equals to 0 and 1. You can see this has become 0 to D, it has become 0 to 1 because of non-dimensionalization. So we have changed Z by Z divided by D. So now the boundaries are 0 and 1. If we consider free boundaries, in that case, we say that there is no stress on the boundaries. Here in rigid boundaries, we are saying there is no flux through the boundaries. Here we are saying there is no stress at the boundaries. In that case, second derivative of W should be 0. Well, derivation of these boundary condition is obviously has to be done. we are directly taking these inputs here, that this is how we get the effect of no tangential stress at the boundary. Okay. Here in this model, we are going to use non-realistic free boundaries. This only makes problem slightly simpler to solve. Don't think that we cannot solve for rigid boundaries, because now at present we are able to solve for longer, shorter boundary combinations. You can take rigid boundaries, you can take free boundaries, you can take boundaries which are in between rigid and free. For example, which has some permeability, not completely impermeable, and so on. Like we can just achieve it, just to keep the analysis simple and to look the analysis very simple. We are taking non-realistic free boundaries. Okay, so that we can do most of the things analytically. Here we reduce, as I showed you the figure at the beginning, I'll just go again there, that we assume symmetry in y direction. So I'll quickly go back and I'll show you what we were planning to assume. We were planning to assume this, that in y direction, everything is symmetric. And what is changing is in x and z direction only. That means any y equals to constant plane, whatever is happening in all y planes over there, all planes which are parallel to y equals to c plane. So with this idea, what we can do is it allows us to introduce a stream function. And what is stream function? Stream function is the function by which we can obtain the velocity, as you can see. And the stream function, if we write phi equals to c, we get stream lines. So these are slight concepts from fluid dynamics, which all of you might not be aware of. But you just understand that stream function is something which gives us velocity. Okay. And here one point I would like you to note is this, that let us say phi has a positive value, then u will have a direction. Okay, because u is already in terms of phi. So you will have a direction, it will be either positive or negative, depending on the sign of psi. Let us say psi is positive, then u will be negative. And when psi is positive, w will be positive. Whereas when psi is negative, u will be positive, and when psi is negative, w will be negative. So you can see what is the meaning of u being positive or negative is that when u positive, if I say, then I'll say that air is flowing from, let us say, north to south. So u negative will mean that air is flowing from south to north. That means in opposite direction. So sign of psi is very important for us. That this will completely change the air flow in atmospheric convection. And you know that if air is flowing from north to south, and then if there is going to be rain, the other way around, if air is flowing, there will be no rain. Okay, that also you know. So weather prediction, airflow and its direction is extremely important. So we will be focusing more on the sign of psi, as you will see later. So that's why I explained this thing here. Remember that psi
These
is
two
positive and
are
negative
from
means
8 bits,
that velocity is in
and I am
different
classifying
direction.
here as combining 2
Okay.
into unsigned
Perturbation,
and
as we have
signed loop.
already taken in the
Therefore, I
boundary
am just
condition, that they are
displaying this
identically
IM
vanishing
show
at the
as
boundaries.
K.
Now, once we have a pressure term also there in the equation, which you can remove by taking the curl sign, because pressure comes as gradient of P, and we know that curl of
And here
gradient
it
is
is nothing
always
but first
0. So you
clearing
can
all
take the
the
curl
command
of entire equation to remove
window
pressure
value.
from there, because pressure is also unknown. So we want to reduce the number of unknowns from there. So now we have only two unknowns and we have two equations. As you can see, one unknown is psi and one unknown is T, which is temperature. Okay. These terms are called Jacobians. If you have heard, Jacobian is actually a small determinant 2 cross 2 in this case, which we can find. And they are actually non-linear terms. That is because psi and T both are unknown. So these are non-linear terms. Remaining all the terms you can see are linear. This is linear term, first term, and these are linear terms. Our entire focus will be on non-linear terms in a small while now. So these are the still these are PDEs. So we could not achieve what we were looking for till now. So there is one more step which we have to go through, and that step. Okay, these are boundary conditions and equations. So the last step before we change it to differential equation, which you can solve, is to perform linear stability analysis. Just eliminate the non-linear terms. So you can see there are two Jacobian terms here. One term is this, and one term is this. These two terms we can just neglect by saying that psi and T are extremely small, so that their products are also going to be small. So we say that okay, these are negligible. So we get these equations. and in which now, as I said, that we will be using some mathematical concepts. One of the concept is normal mode analysis. It just says that you can assume psi and t in this form, where lambda is the growth rate and these sin ax is about the roles which we are assuming. As I have shown you earlier, that we have roles over there. The normal mode analysis helps us in this by writing the equations in these forms. And now you can see that these are converted into ordinary differential equation. D stands for d by dz here, and lambda, as you know, is the growth rate. So we have these two equations subject to these conditions. So to solve this, we make use of Galerkin method. What is the idea in Galerkin method is it says that you assume this psi, a function in such a way that it satisfies the boundary conditions given here, and then by that you can derive the solution. So here we assume psi as a sin pi z. So you can see sin pi z is going to satisfy the condition that it is 0 at 0 and 1, and the second derivative of sin pi z, which is again sin pi z with some constant term multiplied, is also going to be 0. So sin pi z is a natural choice for psi here. Similarly, for theta also sin pi z is a natural choice because sin pi z is 0 at z equals to 0 and 1. You can see that we have taken, for both we have taken sin pi z. So what will be left is these amplitudes actually, A and B. So these are now still unknowns because psi and theta are unknown. So this is the idea of Galerkin method. Those who have used it will immediately get it. So once we use this, we get this system where two matrices are there. You can see one is on one side we have lambda times AB equals to a matrix times AB. And you can see that it is something like an eigenvalue problem. You have A times X equals to lambda times X. But we will not go into finding those lambda values for which this happens. What do we want is that we want this growth rate. As you can see, growth rate comes in exponential power. So if your system is stable, this growth rate will be negative. Why is it so? Because it will be whatever disturbance you are introducing in the system will decrease exponentially with time.
Name of the image is correct. So these are all the problems whenever you receive an error in command window regarding IMD. With the help of working in Python can be done with the help of OpenCV, Open Computer Vision.
This state will be stable.
Yes.
And anything beyond this will make the system unstable. So that is called marginal stability. So to check the marginal stability, or what we call as neutral stability, a lambda
If
equals to
anyone
0
has
can be
doubt, you can
substituted.
just post it
So
in the
once you
chat.
put lambda equals to 0 here, you can see that you have something like this: A times X equals to 0. And if you want X to be non-zero, that means you don't want A and B to be 0, because if A and B are 0, then there is neither any velocity nor any temperature. So you don't want A and B to be 0. So if you don't want A and B to be 0, determinant of this matrix should be 0, so that we will have infinitely many values of A and B. A simple concept from
We
linear
have to
algebra.
install the
And
particular image
hence the Rayleigh
processing
number
toolbox.
can be obtained like this. You can see Rayleigh number is present here. If I open the determinant of this, you can
So
see that
just
Rayleigh number
go
can be
to
obtained.
add-ons.
And now, since A is something free, we see that we are going
On
to
get
choose A
add-ons,
in
you
such
will
a way
be
that
enabling
RA
it
is
on Windows.
least. So
And
in this
within that,
case,
you can
RA is
install
obtained as
all the files
657
which and all
for free
you
boundaries.
require.
Again, I will repeat this, that it is not necessary that we take free boundaries
So
only.
definitely it takes
We can
some
take
time.
rigid boundaries. In that case, Rayleigh number value will be 1708. Okay. And the functions which we have used, we used a very simple function sin pi z right now, as you can see in Galerkin method. But if you take rigid boundaries, then we have to use a slightly complicated function called Chandrasekhar function, or we
Each and
have to
everything
use
is
polynomials
different.
and so on.
Different.
So, but
R
you can
stands
see
for
that sin pi
red
z is
display.
so nice
G for
that it
green.
gives everything in a closed form. There are no numericals, nothing, no numbers, just pi, and
So within this add-on,
everything
you
comes
can
in a
search
very
it.
beautiful analytic way. So only because of that purpose we have just taken.
Me
And even I have written a similar analysis you can do for rigid boundaries. Analysis will be slightly lengthier, but we can always do this exactly. Okay, now we come to
So
what
with the
Lawrence
help of
did.
this,
This
you can
all theory
select
which I have
whichever
told you
you
till now
require.
was already known by the time Lawrence picked up this problem on atmospheric convection. This everything was known. And what Lawrence contributed was this. He said that let us take nonlinear terms now. So I told you that there are two nonlinear terms. One is Jacobian of phi and del square phi, and one was
So
Jacobian
there
of
are
phi and t.
different
The
applications.
first nonlinear term comes
So
in
according to
Navier-Stokes
our function,
equation.
we can
The
select the
second one
required
comes in
toolbox or the
energy
X
equation.
symbols, whichever we
And what
require.
was observed that if I take these psi and
And
t,
here also
which
you
I
can
have used
select
here, this psi and
for
t,
filtering.
if I use like if I take sine pi z, and if I plug in the nonlinear terms, the nonlinear term in the Navier-Stokes equation becomes 0. Okay, so this nonlinear term will not contribute anything. The second term which we have here, which is in the energy equation, you can see it comes in terms of sine 2 pi z, because there is a product of psi and t and their derivatives. So you can see that there will be sine pi z and there will be cos pi z. So product of that is going to be sine pi z into cos pi z gives you sine 2 pi z. And so what is the problem here is that what we have assumed looks now incorrect, because even this nonlinear term will be 0. Why? Because there is no sine 2 pi z in the solution. I am saying that this is the solution which is containing sine pi z. But if I am assuming sine pi z as a solution here, the nonlinear term gives me sine 2 pi z, and you know that in differential equation, when you have something like sine 2 pi z, solution
So
must
these are the
also contain
complete
sine 2
image
pi z.
processing libraries
Okay, so
available in
here
MATLAB.
this assumption we have to change.
So for
So we
now,
have to
these
say
and
that
all
in
has
energy
been
equation,
installed
since
within
sine
my
2 pi z is
particular
appearing,
MATLAB.
that means temperature should contain a term which is sine 2 pi z. And with this idea, Lawrence took here that he took psi to be the same as sine pi z into sine ax, which we have assumed earlier
So
also.
I hope everyone
Even
is
this
clear with
term was
this
assumed
particular
earlier for
software.
linear analysis, that sine pi z has to be taken. So the first term was already assumed for linear analysis. For nonlinear analysis, we add this term in temperature
Arguments within
and
that
say that even
RGB are
temperature
nothing
should
but
contain
their ratio
sine 2 pi z,
of the
because
plane.
this non-linear term will produce sine 2 pi z. Here, I would like to add this also, that if I use these two values now in this nonlinear term again, because earlier I substituted only sine pi z here in both places for psi and t.
So
If
this
I
is another one
substitute
technique,
this term
nothing but
here, I will
compressing
be
the
getting
images
sine
with
3
the
pi
help
z.
of.
Pretty obvious. And since I am getting something like sine 3 pi z, again the claim says that our solution should contain sine 3 pi z
So
also.
generally, these are nothing but the
But there
different
is no end to
applications
this,
of
because if I
MATLAB.
add sine 3 pi z here, then again non-linear term will contain sine 4 pi
Satellite
z.
fielding,
So this is
digital
never going
cameras,
to end.
medical and satellite
So what we
images,
say is that, okay, somewhere we have to
transmission
stop,
and
and somewhere we
storage,
can say
secret
that this
communications,
non-linear terms
copyright
effect is
protections,
coming up to
web
sine 2 pi
applications,
z.
authentication, medical as well
Future
as image
effects we are not
classification.
considering, okay, because they are very, very small. That is what even
Yeah, you
Lawrence
can go
showed,
with Python.
that these next term,
Python
even if you
LabVIEW.
take b3 sine 3 pi z, that does not contribute significantly to the temperature. So
So
two
these are
term
different applications
expansion,
such as
Galerkin
object
expansion
detection,
is enough. And for
biometric
psi, we take
recognition,
single term
medical
Galerkin
imaging,
expansion. That is what we call
transmission
that.
and storage,
Okay, when you substitute this, well, this
video
analysis I will
processing
be
using
skipping. Here
computer
you can
vision,
see that what is unknown is
and
AT now,
discrete wavelet
which is
transform. It
depending
is
on
nothing
time.
but higher compression
B1 and
ratios.
B2 are unknown. So
It
these
is
three
one kind
things
of
which we have to
transformation
find.
function
When we substitute
used in the
everything in the
pre-processing technique
governing
of the
equation, you can
images.
see that we are going to
Generally,
get
we
a
will be
differential equation,
converting
which
the
is first
normal
order in
image
time,
into this particular
and
section,
remaining all things
and
are
then only we will be
known
applying
here,
some of
as you
the
can see after
neural
substituting the
networks
function.
or
And there
classification
is a
techniques and
small
all.
scaling which we do.
So it
This
has a
is
higher compression
not required as
ratios,
such, but we can just
and it
do
will
to
convert
make the model
more
look
common
beautiful.
domain
So
into
once
frequency
these
domain.
scalings are done, keep it in mind
And
that x
this
is
type of
related to
signal
a.
will be
It is just
mostly
scaled
used
a.
towards
Y is nothing but scaled b,
the
and z
particular
is nothing but scaled
frequency or
b2.
time
So y
oriented
is actually
application.
b1. And what they are referring to, x is referring to a. That means it is actually, x is about psi. That means the velocity of the fluid. Y and Z are connected to B1 and B2. So Y and Z actually are related to temperature. I will mostly be focusing only on velocity. You can later on analyze and see that even these are important, but I will be mainly focusing on AT. And again, keep it in mind that sine of AT is nothing but sine of psi. Plus or minus is what we are looking for right now. Okay, sine of A is nothing but sine of X also from here. So after that, all scaling is done, we end up at this system. You can see x dot represents dx by dt, y dot represents dy by dt, and z dot is dz by dt. And this is what we call in mathematics a dynamical system. So you can see that these three are first order equations, obviously time dependent system. And we need three conditions to solve it, which are called initial conditions. So one initial condition on x is required, one required on y, and one required on z. These parameters are somehow related to what we have seen earlier. Sigma is nothing but Prandtl number, which we talked about earlier. R is related to Rayleigh number, so that means R is related to temperature difference, T0 minus T1. E is another parameter, just it is a combination of PR and RA. Okay. The terms which we have here, nonlinear terms, one is XZ, which is coming due to temperature equation, and even XY is coming from temperature equation only. So there is no nonlinear term here in the Navier-Stokes equation. So first equation is obtained from Navier-Stokes equation, and these two equations are obtained from energy equation. And you can see that everything is good here. If you try to check that rate of change in X is negative of X. Okay, so these kind of solutions generally have a decreasing solution, exponentially decreasing solutions. Similarly, y dot is depending negatively on y, again exponentially decreasing, and z dot is again negatively depending on z, so obviously exponentially decreasing. But here, when I said all this, I am just overlooking these nonlinear terms, and you will see that how important these are. These nonlinear terms. Earlier, all studies used to almost avoid these nonlinear terms because we really don't have many methods to deal with this. Okay, still we don't have any method to deal with the nonlinear problems. Here we make use of numerical solutions. So before I say anything about numerical solution, let us look at this system. This is the system which was used by Lorentz to solve this dynamical system, and you can see that these two big boxes are actually part of same computer. And this is in 1956. This is called LGP30 computer. This computer itself is like a desk. And nowadays we have computers which you can keep on a desk. We call them
Chinnu.
desktop. This
Chinnu,
computer
tondara
was itself a desk. Well, obviously, first
Itra
computer
tondaraga?
was a building itself.
Tondara itra.
No doubt about that. But still, you see that
Raa
what kind
legsi.
of work Lawrence has done. He has done
Legsi
on these kind of computers. And you can see some of you who are familiar with computers might be knowing that clock
Tagulta
speed is a
yetta.
very important stuff. And clock speed
Read
of this
this.
computer in
These two are
1956 was
part
just
of
120 kilohertz.
computers in
Whereas
1956.
our laptops which we are using, even our mobiles actually
Both are
at
a
least
single
in
computer.
megahertz and gigahertz.
Now you are seeing
So,
laptop, right?
like,
Earlier
I
they
hope
used
you
to be
know
very
kilo,
used like
mega, and
building.
giga. It's like
This is in
1,000 times
GOP.
of each other. So it was like nothing in compared to the systems we have at present. But still, he did a seminal research. I'll show you what was his results, and like they are like extraordinary. Dimension of the system, as you can see, very big. You can see by image itself, and the weight of this was 363 kg, approximately. Our laptops are, I think, less than 3 kg nowadays. So, and the cost is the last thing I'll talk about because dollar. I hope you know what is the amount. What is the exchange rate now? $47,000 is something really expensive. But MIT provided this to Edward Lorenz, and he did not fail them. He just produced something which creates one entire field in mathematics. Okay, so what Lawrence did, he said that I was just computing, he was solving these equations which I showed you. Again, I'll go back to this. Just look at these equations, so simple, so elegant, and Lawrence said that these can predict atmospheric convection. Okay, and what all we have to do is to solve this. So he said that when I was solving this, what I did is I had taken one initial set of initial conditions and solved it. And then again, once I got the result, I again tried. I thought, okay, let us redo this. And when he did this and he went for a coffee and he returned after an hour. So it is very simple. Like, we all do this. We go for a coffee and we come after 1 hour. Almost in all Indian institutes happen. So we should at least be happy that we are on the lines of Edward Lorenz, at least in taking a coffee. I don't know in research. So he returned after an hour and again he checked the computation, what results he had got. And he realized that there is a big difference in the results which he obtained. And he said that it was all happening only because of small rounding of errors. Rounding of errors, we all know that just when decimal numbers are there, after 4 or 5 decimals, we just round it off. We say that, okay, I don't want these many numbers. So instead of writing an initial condition which he was writing as 1.001, he wrote it as just 1. He said this is not required, 001, because this is very small. But that gave him completely different results. So what I have next is a kind of demonstration to show you that how the solution of this Lorentz model behaves if I change the initial condition by a very, very small margin. You can see that condition I have taken is x0 equals to 0, y0 equals to 1, and z0 equals to 0. And the second set of conditions, you can see x0 equals to 0, y0 equals to 1.001, and z0 is still 0. That means there is only a small difference in the initial condition. And well, you just see what happens. So there are 2 dots here. Right now, you cannot see 2 dots. This is actually time evolving. You can see I am plotting x with respect to time. And there are 2 dots. One dot is blue dot, which is not appearing right now. And one dot is orange one, which is prominent right now because it is on the top. You can see at least lines, I think, blue line as well as orange line, because orange line is dotted. So you can see up to t equals to 15, these 2 solutions are exactly the same. There is almost no effect of taking the initial condition as 1.001. And once it crosses 20, you start seeing the blue dot, and there is some change. You can see the solution is slightly different, but still everything is fine. There is no problem till now. You can just say that it is some error which I am getting due to the numerical method which I am using. You can use to remember that what is x. X is actually direction of velocity, right? Because it is amplitude. I will not very much bothered about what is the amplitude, whether it is large or not. We'll just talk about sign of this, because you know that sign is different, means velocity is completely in the opposite direction. That means velocity, instead of air flowing from north to south, the air is flowing from south to north. And what we expect is, if I change the initial condition by a small margin, well, obviously air should still flow from north to south. You can see that here both the values are negative. Obviously air is still flowing in the same direction, but as time increases, so here is the point I would like to again stop this. You can see that the orange dot, which is with respect to the initial condition 1.001, says that the stream function is positive. Whereas when I took the initial condition to be 1, you see that it says that the stream function is negative. That means here it is saying that air will be flowing from south to north. Here it is saying that air will be flowing from north to south, completely different result. And what is done is there is a very, very small change in the initial condition, nothing more. And this much can just be an error, actually, just rounding off error kind of thing. But these 2 results are completely different. This should tell us a very important thing when we do research, is that there are no small errors. Like, we generally take it granted, oh, this has happened just because of some error. If Lorentz would have imagined like this, that it is just because of small error, we would not be having an entirely new field of mathematics, which is called chaos theory. Okay, and this phenomena which you have just seen, this phenomena, that we started from the same point, the point was exactly the same up to t equals to 20. And then that small difference made a huge difference, that we are getting completely opposite results here. So this phenomena is what we call as chaos. Chaos, in simple words, is sensitive dependence on initial conditions. So we have a model here which is extremely sensitive to the initial conditions you are inputting over there. Okay, if you make a mistake in initial condition, you are going to get completely different result. And that is how weather prediction works. So what happens in weather prediction is that if I am going to tell exact value of the wind velocity, exact value of the temperature, then only I will be getting exact weather prediction. But you can see that you cannot find this. How can you find wind velocity correctly? Because there are hundreds and thousands of factors which affects wind velocity at a particular time, which is what we are calling as initial condition. That is why the sentence, the flap of a butterfly's wing, even that is contributing to wind velocity. So this error is actually 0.001 difference is something like a flap of a butterfly's wing, but you can see it is giving completely different results to us. A small mistake in initial condition can give you completely different results. So I hope this makes the point clear. What is chaos? First of all, chaos is not something like absence of order. Chaos in mathematics means that your system which you are dealing with is extremely sensitive to initial condition. There is order here. You can see it is not that I could not predict this, that x will be negative here and x will be positive here. Okay, now since this was an animation, I just made a static image of this. Long time, you can see after t equals to 20, things are completely different. And that's why till today we say that weather can be predicted only for some few days in advance. For example, today I can predict what will happen tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be rain. Tomorrow there will be a hurricane or something like that. But I cannot say what will happen after, let us say, 30 days or maybe after 2 months. The weather can only be predicted for a short period of time because weather model is extremely sensitive to initial condition. That means weather prediction models are chaotic in nature. So this is the value of x. A similar analysis, as I said, I'll not talk about y and z, but still you can see y and z also. You can see the difference in the lines. They are completely different after t equals to 20. You know, even temperature which you are predicting for the air temperature you are predicting is also going to be wrong if you make a small mistake in initial condition. Similarly for z also, you can see there is a difference after t equals to 20. So up to some time value, everything is fine. That means you can be accurate up to that. But later on, it has to be different. These are the roles I was talking. For example, in this left-hand side role, when I'm observing, let us say psi value is positive. That means x value is positive, and I'm getting clockwise rolls here and anti-clockwise roll here. This is one set of roles. The same set of roles, if I take psi value negative, will be this role will be counterclockwise and this role will be clockwise. That means completely opposite results. Okay, that means something like wind is flowing from north to south and south to north. Okay, so before I show you the last thing in this model, I'll just talk about a small concept in dynamical system. It says that you can talk about some equilibrium points. What are those points? Where the system is going to be steady. There will be no change with respect to time. So you can see what is done is x dot is equated to 0, y dot is equated to 0, and z dot is equated to 0. That means this is what is called that the system is independent of time. And when we have this, we can solve it for x, y, z. So you can see there are 3 points which we get for this system where this system is independent of time. One point is the origin, and there are 2 more points. So these points in dynamical system theory, we call them equilibrium points. So if the system reaches this point, then system is going to be static. That means it is not going to evolve with time now. Similarly, if system reaches this point, then also system will stop evolving and system will stop there itself. And similarly, origin, obviously, if you start from initial condition 0, 0, 0, game is over. Okay, or at any other point in time, if it is 0, 0, 0, that means the system is going to stop there itself. It will no further grow. But you see what Lorentz model says that, so phase space is actually another concept in dynamical system in which what we are going to do is we are going to plot this x, y, and z, the 3 things which we have got. X refers to the flow of the air. Y and z refers to temperature, actually. Temperature corresponding to sine pi z term and temperature corresponding to sine 2 pi z term. We can call them corresponding to linear term and corresponding to non-linear term. we can draw these XYZ with respect to T in a three-dimensional space, and that is what we call as phase space. Phase space actually tells us the position of the system at any given time. You can see there are three dots. I don't know what resolution you are getting on your screens, but there is one point here, orange point is 000. This is one of the points, these 2 points where the system will become static, means steady, that means there will be no change in the system. So this is one point and this is another point. And now I am starting the system from this point, which is obviously not 0. This is the same point as 0, 1, 0. I have not put the axis here because with axis it was looking pretty different, or it was difficult to comprehend it. So I just made it independent of this because, you know, amplitude numbers are not important. How this is going to behave, that is important, and that is what we have to look for. And this is how the system evolves. So you can see what is happening and try to observe for yourself that what is happening. These are study points. If system reaches here, it is not going to change anymore with respect to time. But you can see what is happening. System is always revolving around these points. As you can see, as time, this is obviously real time stuff. As time increases, how the system is behaving. So you can see that it is never going to reach to 0, well, without fail. As you can see, it is going to be always bounded like this, and you can see that how it is changing with time. We have to observe these things, that system is actually trying to go to one of the points, these two. So it is revolving only to reach to this point, but what is happening, the other point is attracting it. You have to see it like this. So this point now is being attracted by this point. So it is going away from this point, this equilibrium point, and then it reaches into the orbit of this point. But again, once it is reaches to this point starts attracting it, and again the system is going to go back to this and start circling around this. So you can see that it is something like what it is tracing right now, as you can see, is a butterfly, and that's why the name butterfly effect. And there are a lot of things, obviously. This is one of the reason. And just imagine that those who are mathematics students, just imagine that there is a system of equation which you are solving, and when you are plotting, you are getting a butterfly over there. How good that sounds. It can mathematical equation so beautiful that their solution looks like this. One of the most beautiful things in nature. You can see, I don't want to play this entirely because it is just time consuming. I'll just fast forward this. You can see it just rotates around these two attractors, and due to this feature, these 2 points we call strange attractors, that they are trying to attract but they are unable to attract the system completely. Okay, so this is what Lorentz observed about this. And always remember that XYZ are not going away from these points, as you can see. I can even draw an ellipse here, and I can say that this entire butterfly is inside this ellipse. That means energy of the system is always finite. This system is never going to blow up, as you can see. So there is no possibility like that. So from here, actually, we just conclude what is chaos. The chaos is obviously deterministic, very, very important thing. I would like to remove this idea from your mind that chaos means complete disorder. We cannot say anything about the system, nothing like that. You can determine the system at each and every value of time. You can determine it, but the behavior is non-periodic. If the system's behavior is periodic, something like simple harmonic motion, there is nothing to predict. Just solve it for the first one time period, and remaining all solution follows. Chaos means you have the system's sensitive dependence on initial condition, the most important point. Okay, and this is what actually I already showed you, that if you start the system from 2 points which are very, very close to each other, the system is going to behave in drastically different way. So here next is a demonstration which I myself could not make, but I found it very beautiful to watch. Is this is a 3-dimensional demonstration. Unfortunately, I could not post the link of this. You can find this on, I think, YouTube or something. This is beautiful. You can see this is 360 rotation of Lorentz models butterfly. And still, if you are guessing, there are 2 points. One is yellow and one is blue. and they are actually rotating around two strange attractors. And you can see that earlier they were almost the same point. Now they are completely different points. And as you proceed, you will find that this thing is going to be a beautiful butterfly as time progresses. So this looks like a butterfly, as you can see, from one angle at least. Okay, so well, here are actually static diagrams of this butterfly. This is a three-dimensional diagram, and then what three follows are the projection of this in three different planes: projection in XY plane, projection in XZ plane, and projection in YZ plane. So here you can see the projection in XZ plane is the most beautiful diagram, which really looks like a butterfly about to flap its wings. And some final remarks that chaotic systems, which are like weather, because we have done atmospheric modeling here, it cannot be predicted more than a few days in advance. And what is the meaning of butterfly effect? It really means that things are very sensitive here, and your initial conditions you should choose very, very carefully. And when Lawrence published this paper, there were a lot of criticism. Many of you who know about fluid dynamics know that what are the mistakes in the system which is considered right now. I will not tell about this because just now what you have witnessed, if you have really heard things carefully and if you have really seen what was shown to you, if you have done that carefully, you can see that you have seen one of the most beautiful things we can get in mathematics as a solution. And I don't want to ruin that by telling you that this model was slightly inaccurate to predict atmospheric convection. It will be something like I introduce you to I introduce a young, charming bachelor boy to a beautiful girl, and then suddenly I tell that this girl is having these defects. That will not be a justice. I don't want to do that. I'll be a gentleman here, and I'll not tell you anything wrong about this model. But people understood that there is something wrong, and they started doubting the idea of chaos. They thought that this Lawrence guy is wrong. This cannot happen actually, chaos. And let me add here that chaos was predicted by theoretical mathematicians long back. Means even around 18th century, they understood that there can be a system which is very sensitive to initial condition, but none of the physics guys, nobody agreed to this. And then came Edward Lorenz, and he proved that chaos is possible in atmosphere, which is very much real life. But people started criticizing. He said this is completely wrong. And then came the friend. When you're in trouble, your friend should help you. And here came a friend of Edward Lorenz named Malthus. He was again a mathematician at MIT. And he modeled one entire physical thing just to justify Lorentz model. So just imagine what we generally do in mathematical modeling is we have a physical scenario for which we write differential equations or maybe algebraic equation or partial differential equations and so on. But here this guy was having a system with him. That means differential equations are already there. Then he made a physical model of that which imitates those equations. And this is something really, I will say, out of the world thing which he did. And how nicely they did is he made a water wheel. What's the idea? Pretty simple. Take a water wheel, take a wheel, maybe a cycle wheel or something. Fix some cups here in which you can fill water. Okay, and just to put this wheel in such a way that it can rotate actually. So you know the atmospheric convection, rotation, clockwise rotation, anti-clockwise rotation. So obviously rotation should be there. So this wheel is there, and then what we have to do is these cups we have to fill by water from the top. So again, convection phenomena. What is happening? The particles here are heavier than the particles here, as you can see. And now gravity has to do its job. What gravity's job will be to bring this heavier particle down and to take this lighter particle up. And that is what is convection, as we know. But what is the problem here is that when we had convective motion, there is a thing which stops convection, that resists convection, is viscosity. So how to get into the effect of viscosity? Well, you can either have, there is a problem with the wheel that it is not frictionless, or what we can do is we can put holes here in the cups. What will happen is that water will not only fill, but also it will get leaked from here. And then what Malkus actually proved is that this water wheel actually is going to work exactly like Lorentz model. That means it will be chaotic. That means if you start with the 120 degrees and 121 degrees, this water wheel is going to rotate in completely different way. That means the solutions will be exactly same as Lorentz model. So, well, these I have given you the explanation of the terms here. If you want this, I will be sharing this with the organizers if you want to see this anymore. Okay, with the last thing, this video I leave for you to watch and wonder that this simple thing was not available before Lorentz proved anything like this. Lorentz did it for three-dimensional system in which X, Y, and Z were there. Lately, it was realized that even when you have two things, still you can do it. When you're doing this, you can see there is a double pendulum. So there is one pendulum, and from the first pendulum's end, we are attaching another pendulum. And here also you can see chaos. So to see chaos, I have taken two angles in making these two demonstration. One angle is taken 120 and second angle is taken as 123. It could be taken 120.1, but what will happen is that you will not be able to see the difference in trajectories very soon. Here you will be able to see the difference in trajectories of the second bob very soon. So just watch this video and see that everything will be similar to Lorentz model here. That means for some time, both the pendulums are going to move exactly in the same way. But after some time, they will be drastically different. That means there is chaos. The initial setup is affecting the end result by a real great margin. So just watch this video, and by the time, once this video ends, I think even I will end my presentation. If you have any questions, you can ask. You can see that right now the trajectories are completely different. So this is another pretty simple chaotic system in nature. And nature means you can just set up it in a lab, or you can just put it in your room as well. But, pretty simple. There are some assumptions made, obviously. So that is all I think from my side. There were some messages, inherent messages. I hope you have got. One more thing I will add here. These are the references mostly I've used. One is on Rayleigh-Bernard convection book. It's a very good book on Rayleigh-Bernard convection, those who are interested. And a very good book on nonlinear dynamics and chaos by Steven Strogas, one of the most prominent mathematician of present time. And before I end, I would like to give one message to the researchers, mostly young researchers, because most of the other researchers I think are pretty senior to me, and I don't want to give any suggestions to them. They know more than me. But this paper of Salzman, which is in the same journal, Journal of Atmospheric Sciences, he actually converted, like I told you, that PDE is converted into ODE. So he was the one who converted the problem up to initial value problem. Okay, that means he converted almost up to Lorentz model, but he never tried to solve it. Otherwise, Salzman would have been the person who would have discovered chaos. So it is more like luck, you can say. This research was done in 1962, and Lorentz grabbed this opportunity in 1963, and he was the one who, and actually nobody knows Salzman today. It's just like I'm not belittling his contributions in maths, but he's like lesser known person than Edward Lorentz. Just remember that when you are doing some problem, just try to extend it slightly more to just see what are the other aspects of the problem, and can we go for something which is a breakthrough in mathematics. With this, I invite questions on this topic if there are any. Hello, am I audible? I am not sure whether I was speaking to no one.